Background checks. It's something that we debate about and something that we wonder if it can help make our society much safer. Today, I'll talk to you about the history of background checks, the loophole, and what background checks can do to make our world much safer. According to the Foundation for Economic Education, in 1938, the Firearms Act began restricting the sales of those who sell firearms, and they had to have a federal firearms license, and they also had to make a list for those who did buy the guns. They also made a list for the convicted felons, and those were the first people prohibited to buy a gun. But this didn't stop many, as in the 1960s we lost so many great and historic people, such as John F. Kennedy, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and Robert F. Kennedy. And this all led to the Gun Act of 1968. This act was to keep the guns out of the hands of those who wanted to do such violent behavior. And they did so by checking the age, the criminal history, and if they're not incompetent. They also required this for the businesses, except for there's some slight changes, such as if they had substance abuse and other stuff like that. According to Wikipedia, a loophole is a political term that means that a private seller is allowed to sell firearms to those without requiring a background check. Federal laws require you to have a background check, but not for private sellers, because President Bill Clinton signed a Brady bill that says you don't have to sign any papers, or you don't have to make a list of those who bought the guns or anything. They just have to have a federal firearm license. So this means that any seller at the gun show is allowed to get rid of their firearm to those that we don't even know about, that has a criminal history or has something wrong with them or anything like that, and we're just gonna let them run free. And I don't really find that really okay. There are only 13 states with background checks. Only 13. Now imagine if we changed that 13 to 50. Our world would be so much safer. And according to Everytown for Gun Safety, it's been 25 years since the Congress passed the federal background check law. Background checks saves lives and reduces the homicide rate for guns, and also the illegal possession of a firearm. And imagine if we we know that we hear gun shootings in high schools all the time, and that makes us all worry, and we don't want to worry anymore. Imagine that background checks could stop that person from possessing a firearm, and now our society will be much safer. Now that I'm done talking to you today, I want to go over what we learned. We learned about the history of background checks, the loophole, and what background checks can do to save our society. Thank you.